Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to today's show with Mike. As we sort of get started, if you're watching us, just give us a hello in the comments. We so like to know who's watching us, and mostly who's on my side and who's on Mike's side. And speaking of Mike, hello, Mike. How you doing?
I'm very good, actually. As you can probably tell from my hilarious name, I'm playing golf after this. So
I still don't get this. I really hope other people. I know I'm blonde, but what is a formica? It sounds like a plant.
No, it's just a piece of plastic that covers, like, in restaurants or in your kitchen or something. But that's
How
not.
is that in any way to do with golf?
It isn't. It's just a pun because I wrote for and then Mike, and I thought I'll just put an A for Ames. You see, for Micah.
I don't think that's a pun. I think it's anyway.
Can we just get on with the show then?
Should we just leave that there? Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about USPs. We're going to be talking about those unique selling points, which is what USP stands for, that differentiate you from your competition, which means somebody out there is going to pick you over your competitors. So just as we get started, please let us know in the comments what your USP is. If you have one, why would if I was your client or Mike was your client, why would we pick you over somebody else? Please let us know that in the comments. Now, Mike, I mentioned that a USP is a unique selling point, but what is the difference between a USP and a compelling USP?
A compelling USP works for a start.
Nice and simple then.
No, well, it does, because you're supposed to say a USP, you're supposed to use it or demonstrate it or stick it on your website or do something with it. And someone's supposed to look at it and think, well, that's a little different. It's just designed to get interest before it does anything else. And then what it's supposed to do is give people that reason to use you. If it's not compelling, it won't work. It won't have the effect that you're looking for. So you need that. Yeah, that works. It's really important.
Okay. All right. So let's say I've been in business. How am I supposed to figure out what my compelling USP is? How am I supposed to do that?
Okay. That's a good question, right? So I'm going to go back a step if I can and put a little backdrop on this. Now, I want you to imagine a grid with 9 boxes, 3 by 3. Okay, so the 3 rows, one would be company, one would be product, and one would be you. Because you can have USPs that relate to your company, that relate to your product portfolio, or relate to you as a person.
Okay.
Across the top on the columns, first one is feature, second one is feature benefit, third one is unique feature benefit, because you can have features about your company, your product, or you. Right. You can have features that give a benefit about your company, your product, you, and you can have feature benefits that actually are unique or uncommon, hence the UFB. Now, we use the common term USP because if we use UFB, no one would know what it was, or they think I've got a lisp. So probably. So we're going with USP. Now, to give you an example of those, if in terms of a house, for example, a feature would be it's got 4 bedrooms. It's what's called a tick list. So if somebody is looking for a house, they want to make sure it's got 4 bedrooms. They see it's got 4 bedrooms, tick in the box. You don't have to spell out what that means. It's just a feature.
Yeah.
You can have features about your company. It's a national company. Oh yeah, I want a national company, tick in the box. It doesn't mean anything really on its own, but it needs to be there because people want to see it. Awesome. Okay. Feature benefits could be that I've got a cabin in the garden, which would be ideal for an office, a home office, or a gymnasium, or a sauna and hot tub combo, which is what is in ours, obviously.
Interesting choices.
I know. All this is about my house because I just popped it in my head, right? So there's a benefit to that because if you want to work from home, it's great to have, a gym at home or whatever. Then yeah, I can see that there's a benefit to that. Whereas a unique feature benefit would be, say, we've got a cellar because when we have the house extended, we had a cellar put in.
Okay.
Not many new houses have those these days, and you've got like this really cool room, actually cool, which keeps things like wine at the right temperature, and we've got our gym in there so you can exercise. So there's some real benefits and it's unique, right? So those are those columns and they can apply to a company, to a product, or to a person.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what we're talking about here is people, because I don't know who's watching this. We have we have over 1,000 views usually the course of the post. So I don't know whether you're business owners or not, but if you're not a business owner, then you can't control what your company does. You can't control what your products do, but you can control what you do. And most people that provide a service, for example, recruiters, can very definitely differentiate themselves, and should, because ultimately people buy from people. So the first thing you've got to differentiate is you. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we want compelling USPs, which are unique features that have a benefit effectively.
Okay, and based on you as a person, which you have control over, and is something you can control, whether you're just starting out your career or whether you are, 50 years into your career and you're doing it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do it. I mean, there are different types of personal USPs, but they fall into three broad groups actually.
Okay, which are?
Okay, so the first group is a niche. So clearly, you can't build a niche overnight. Obviously,
Probably not. No.
No, you can't. You need to work hard to create a niche. Whether you're a recruiter and it's a niche recruitment thing that you do, or whether you're a service provider and whatever, you've got a niche which you can actually say, look, I am the go-to guy or the go-to girl for that thing. No one else has got the same as me, and it might not be unique. Other people might niche it out as well, but actually it's uncommon. Yeah. So it's something you've built up over a period of time.
Yeah, but niches take a lot of work, and we've spoken about them before. They're harder to run than people think they are. They take a lot of time to build up. So not everybody, for some people, a niche just isn't an option. So what's the second one?
The vast majority, just a second on niche. I mean, they are massively powerful. And if you're a service provider, a niche is easily the strongest USP that you can have, because you can just, if you're in a group of people and you say, well, look, I am the lead provider of this, okay, this thing. And if they believe you, if you can provide proof for that, then, and they're interested in it, then you've got their attention. So, for example, when we ran one of my businesses, one of the people there had a real strong niche. She had cornered the market in this particular skill. And clients used to ring her because word got out that she was the person to go to for this thing, right? There was only her. She was the go-to girl. So people came. So that's the epitome, if you will. But there's a lot of effort it takes to build that, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
The second one is experience and skills. So skills that you've built up or an experience that you've got, the way in which you do something sometimes. The problem with that is it's hard to make that unique. Whatever industry you're in, the chances are there's a lot of people who've been in it the same length of time that you have.
Yeah.
That have worked on one thing, for that period of time. I see it in lawyers all the time, actually. You say to them, what's your USP? Well, I've got 15 years experience of corporate law. Now that is a feature benefit, because the benefits of that are that they've probably seen a lot of situations, so you don't reinvent the wheel. Their experience, they've learned a lot. You can see there's a lot of benefits to that. But it's not unique. Loads and loads of people have got that, so you can't use that as a USP.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and then the third one.
Right. The third one. Let me hold that thought, because there is something that you can use from the get-go. Really, doesn't matter how much experience you've got. Doesn't matter what you do. There is a USP which always works, massively powerful. And I'm going to split it into two for you, actually. So you've got a choice of two. Excuse me. And I think that if there's anybody watching the show who is just starting out, this will work for you. Okay. But there is a really important question about any of your USPs. Can you guess what that is, Kirsty? That's a trick question.
I imagine I can, because I go, networking events, or I listen to people, or sometimes I share with people on LinkedIn, and they tell me what their USP is, and my brain immediately goes, that's not unique. It's not going to make me choose you. So how am I actually supposed to figure out if my USP is indeed a USP?
Well, it's a very good question, right? I'm going to talk about it now, because the most dangerous USP is the one that you think is true and it isn't. In other words, as you said, Kirsty, it's like that. I've got 15 years experience. In their mind, that's a USP. That's why people should choose them, but it doesn't work. So people don't for that reason. No, so don't kid yourself. If you're going to have a USP, make sure that it works, really. Now, I'm going to show you how you can test your USPs now. It's a neat little trick that you can use. I've used it for years. Use it with my clients. So when I work with clients, particularly if we're doing a USP project or a sub-project in one of the bigger things, bigger programs, then when I say, well, okay, well, what do you, what differentiates you? Then immediately that they say some are really good, some not so good. I say, well, it doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It matters what the clients think. So we get them to test out their USP with their client community and bring the results back. And that's kind of not an argument then, is it? Because if the clients don't think it is, then it isn't.
A pretty decent answer there, isn't it? You can't really argue with them. I mean, you could argue with them. I don't imagine it would go very well for you, but you could argue with clients.
No, I probably wouldn't. So let's look at the test now. Excuse me. How to test your USPs, right? So there's 4 tests that you can use.
Okay.
And these always work. Now, the deal is that you want to ask your clients these. So you ask your clients, you go to them and say, right, this is a USP, I think. Could you score it from 1 to 10? 1 being, well, no, everyone says that. Okay. Or everyone does that. Or, that's very common. To 10 being, I've never seen that before. That is awesome. Okay. So you say what it is and you ask them to score it. And you tell them as well that it's really important that they are brutally honest with you, because what a lot of people will do is sense that you want them to say, yes, that's very original. And even if it's not. And so
they'll just say it to not hurt your feelings or be mean or something.
Yes. And of course, that's not going to do anybody any good. What you actually need is you need an honest appraisal of the USP. So
this ties in quite nicely with VOTCs, doesn't it? Voice of the customers, or that kind of stuff. This would be, which we tend to encourage third parties do, but in this case, you could do it on this snippet yourself.
If you're doing a voice of the customer, if you're doing a voice of the customer, then absolutely, what you can do is get whoever's doing the VOTC for you to ask this question. Absolutely. The second test is, does it deliver a tangible benefit? Now,
that one's a big one.
It is. Now, I could turn up on client site wearing a yellow chicken outfit. Would it pass test number 1? Yes, it would. It would be a 10 out of 10. No one's ever done that. And that's actually quite an attractive thought.
I mean, you would be remembered on site if that's your aim.
Right, but it wouldn't pass, apart from light amusement, it wouldn't pass number 2. So I'm going to tell you now what the common tangible benefits are. So 1 is it reduces cost.
Yep, saves them money.
Yep, saves money. 2 is it makes things happen faster.
Speed.
Yes, speed. The third thing is increases quality or the richness of something, makes it better, effectively. The 4th thing is risk. So it reduces risk in some way for the person you're giving this thing to, makes it safer. And then the 5th thing is convenience, makes it more convenient, easier for them, which is probably, weirdly, for most managers that you deal with, perhaps the most powerful. They never admit it. They never admit it, but actually that is incredibly powerful. So when you're listing out your feature benefit pairs, whether they're unique or not, whether it's feature benefit pairs, if you can track back that benefit to one of those 5, you normally get someone's attention. And in some cases, of course, a feature benefit, there can be more than one benefit to it. It's fine. This is a feature and it's this and this. It reduces costs and makes things happen quicker. It's absolutely fine. It can do that. The other one is the 5th one is confidence, right? So I know that sounds like a bit weird as a benefit, but many people are looking for that clarity of confidence that the decision they're making is right or the thing they're doing is right. So if the benefit gives confidence to people or clarity to people, again, that can be a real benefit. So
okay. All right.
So you need, and again, you test them for 1 to 10. So this is the feature, this is what we think the benefit is. Could you score that for me? 1 being no, it isn't. 10 being it absolutely is. And if they don't think it's a benefit, it's a nice idea to find out why not. It just is, Why? I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just wanting to understand why that's not a benefit to you. This is really crucial stuff. The next one is there has to be convincing proof that it's true. So you just can't make wild claims and expect people to believe them. But by the same token, you don't have to have in a court of law, that this is an absolute proof that you just have to have convincing proof. Right. So that when you tell people say, yeah, I believe that. Now, sometimes something's obvious. If you've got a feature which is a standout visible feature that you can see or touch or whatever, then like we've got offices, I mean, it's not a USP, but we've got offices in every single major city in the UK.
Yeah.
That means we've got a local presence. That means we know the market really, really well, and we can differentiate and blah, blah, blah. That makes us unique. Probably wouldn't, but it would be uncommon perhaps. Then you don't need to prove that really, because they just are really. That's absolutely fine. That's convincing proof. But if you say something like, well, we're the number one supplier of XYZ to this market, well, who says that then? How do you know that then? What proof have you got? Okay. So you absolutely need to provide convincing proof for it. And again, when you present that proof to whoever you're checking this with, you have to say, well, how much do you believe this? 1 being, yeah, not really, to 10 being absolutely, totally.
That's ironclad. I can't argue with that. That's for sure, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now the last one, which is a weird one, right? Because I'll tell you why it's weird, because you can have something that ticks all of those boxes, which you would then assume is a USP, but actually it doesn't work. I know. It's weird, isn't it, really? So, and that's not one necessarily that you can put to a client. You have to ask the question in a certain way. So you would have to say, well, okay, this USP that I've just presented to you, tell me the score, which is absolutely fine. But can I ask you how much that would really separate me out in a way that you would say, yeah, I think I want to talk to those guys because of that. Score it 1 to 10. But in truth, of course, it comes to when you use it. When you use it, does it actually work?
Yeah.
And that's the nub of it. That is the nub of it. So if you want to test your USPs, and I urge you to do that, because the most dangerous USP is one that's not a USP, and you get the answers, you get the score back, and it's not a particularly high score. You need to be getting 7, 8s, and 9s for those.
Yeah.
So what's 4 7s? 28, is it something? So if it's if it's below sort of 30-ish, 35, pretty good, close to 40, excellent. So you need to get some really good scores on that as an average across the piece. And then it's a good USP, and then you can use it with confidence.
And you want to be getting a fairly decent sample size on this. So you don't just ask like 2 clients that know you really well and like you and agree with everything you say. You want to be asking a fairly broad spectrum of clients.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, ideally, you want to ask the clients or prospects who aren't clients but are good enough for you to speak to. The word. So, okay, we're not clients, but would you do this favor for me? And they're, yeah, okay, I'll do that for you. It might even help. Who knows? It can kind of help to reinforce why they should use you. But you can use clients. But if you use your existing clients, you have to stress to them that they absolutely have to be honest with you, 100%.
Okay, all right. I mean, for me, that's very compelling, and please let us know in the comments if that's going to help you to test out your own USPs, or if you've done it in the past and sort of got some results from it. That would make a really interesting thing for us as well. So, okay, Mike. So we've sort of figured out how to test your current USPs. So say either it comes out that you're getting 10 on all of your USPs, which is not good. Or let's say it's your absolute worst case scenario. It's your first day on the job. It's my first day of my career. Okay. So I've got no niche because it takes a while to set up. I've got absolutely no experience. I've got nothing that's unique, nothing around that to do. What can I do now to create a USP? Because I'm floundering, Mike, and I've got no idea what I'm doing.
Well, you're screwed, aren't you, really?
Well, pretty much, yeah.
No, the point is, you can't do anything now. But the quickest USP that you can build, the one that you can, from that standing start with nothing, the quickest that you can build, and if you're experienced, you could probably do it right now, today, probably, is to use your quality of service. So let me just bring this up a bit if I can. No, wrong one. That's the one there. There you go. I used to be technical, I used to be technical, yeah. It was
I see your ploy.
in the right direction. People have been telling me things, so it's okay. Okay. So, right. So this is a default USP that you can tailor effectively. So, because if it wasn't and everyone used it, it wouldn't be unique, would it? Okay. Where am I? Right. So you can always fall back on this quality and service levels. Okay. It's always there. Now, clearly, if you're not good at what you do, you're scuppered. I'm afraid you're on your own. There's not much I can do about that. But most people believe that they're good at what they do. And actually, a lot of people are good at what they do. So what you do is you do three things. So promise of service stems from the frustrations that people have when they buy your product or service. So if you say to them, okay, don't tell me what you like, say recruiters, because I know we have a lot of those, or lawyers, isn't he? Don't tell me what you like about working with lawyers or accountants or recruiters. Tell me what really frustrates you. Now, some people, they're fine, they just couldn't, but you ask every now and again to somebody and they just go off on one. It's like out it comes. Oh, yeah. So we were talking to someone earlier and said, well, I really hate it when recruiters send an invoice in like hour one, day one of when someone started. They haven't even seen whether it's the right fit or anything. They just want to get the money in. I hate that. Now, that's not against the contract. It's okay. It's not a deal breaker. It's just an irritant. It's a frustration. Frustrations are golden places to look for USPs. Let me tell you that. Okay. And the people that know the frustrations are your clients. So if you get enough of these, all you need to do is reverse them, and that becomes a promise of service. So you need 5 or 6 things on a 1 A4 piece of paper that says, okay, this is what we do. And so in this case, we definitely do not send an invoice in the first day. We wait a few weeks, we ring you up, we make sure everything's fine, then we send it in, or words to that effect. Okay, so, and you'll find there are lots of these, actually, people that are very frustrated with lots of different professions. And if you ask around enough, you'll find what you need. Now, that in itself, unfortunately, isn't a USP because there's not convincing proof attached to it. Okay. If you put a forfeit of failure on there, so if you said, I did this once for a recruiter, he's a search actually consultant, it was his own business and there was only him and it was one-man band. I was working with him. And we went through this process. We reached out to about 15 of his clients and prospects, got all this data, crunched it all up, got 7 things. And he said, well, okay, if I said to him, well, what are you going to do if you break any of those then? What's your forfeit? What's in it for the client if you break them? And he said, well, I'm going to give 100% of the feedback. Say what now?
That's a big deal.
Yeah. I said, well, are you sure? Because okay. He said, no, I can keep all of those. It's only me. I can keep all of those. It'll be fine. So we're working on a productization product for him. There was a project just to productize what he did. We stopped doing that. We just use a promise of service now because when he showed people, this is what I do. Oh, and by the way, if I break any of these things, that person is for free. Pretty much that deal was his. It was a different.
I bet it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, coupled with that is this concept of testimonials as proof. Now, I'm not talking about written testimonials.
No, I'm a huge fan of testimonials.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the right thing. I'm not talking about written testimonials because, well, we know with written testimonials, don't we? That
everybody does that thing, don't they? Where you go, can I have a testimonial? And somebody goes, yeah. Just, I'll write you an email with what I want you to say in, and you just tweak it, or you let me know if it's okay. And somebody will change like the last word, or instead of very, they'll say
or nothing
really
at all, and say, yeah, that's fine.
And so you end up with the same testimonial.
Everybody knows that. So they're limited in use, written testimonials these days. I mean, they still get them, yeah, absolutely, but limited in use. Certainly if they're blind testimonials, they're next to pointless, really. In other words, there's no name on them. Mr. A from wherever it is, or a HR director. No, pointless. However, a video testimonial is how many times more likely to be believed, Kirsty?
I think it's up to 80, isn't it? I think.
No, it's 5, and you know it. Video is 5 times more likely to be believed than a written alternative, right? That's a lot.
There's a lot.
And the reason is because someone's looking at the camera or they're looking, we get them when we film them to film to the side, but whatever. And they're stumbling over their words and they're kind of thinking what they're saying. You can tell it's genuine.
And you've got your name and the job title and usually the company at the bottom. Yeah, they're more authentic. There's an authenticity that comes to video testimonials.
Massively so. So if you've got a website with a wall of these videos on it, so if you want to go to the Flare website, flare.co.uk, at the top, testimonials, click on it, you'll see a wall of testimonials, people saying nice things about me. it's a reinforcement that what you've just said is true.
Mm-hmm.
So any claims that you make or anything you put in your promise of service, not only is there a forfeit of failure, but a whole bunch of people saying, that thing he says he does, yeah, well, he does it, right? That is enough. So if you've got nothing and you can't be asked to spend ages building a niche, or you experience you can't waste 10 years, then focus on your quality of service, deliver exactly what you say you're going to do, build a promise of service that reflects that, put some sort of forfeit on it, and then get a load of people, as many as you can get, 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, to say, yeah, we use Mike, and yeah, that thing he does, it's great. This is what happens, and we loved it. Because that's enough. That already puts you in like just 1% of your population. Just that. So you don't need to worry too much about USPs, really. What you need to worry about is your quality of service. That's the thing I would go for. And then just make sure that you publicize it verbally and through testimonials.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, we've got a couple of comments that I'm going to go to, Mike, before we move on. So Barry has a very unique idea about what people could offer as a USP. And we know that does work on Barry.
Yes. It has to be a nice lunch, though.
Obviously.
We're not talking about the spoons, are we?
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the spoons. What are you talking about?
No, but you wouldn't take Barry to the spoons.
We're talking about Marks and Spencer's gin and tonic tins here. We're not talking no Aldi nonsense. It's Marks and Spencer's tinnies.
I think probably if you ask Barry, you're almost certainly going to be looking at the Ivy. But hey, whatever. Who knows?
Potato. And then this is very true. Also, I rarely know what I'm doing. So we've got Sean saying, just reinforcing the power of a USP. And I'm intrigued as to what you thought it would be, actually, Sean, versus what it is. I'd be intrigued to know the difference between the two.
Yeah. We worked together on that. And Sean, by the way, is awesome.
So then we've got Nigel, again, who's sort of reinforcing what you were saying. He likes to ask his clients what they don't like about their competitors. So then Nigel does the exact opposite, which I think is a very strong way.
What I'm saying to Nigel is encapsulate that in a promise of service. That's all I'm saying. And put a forfeit on it, because that's what gives it teeth. That it passes test number 3 there, which is convincing proof. Anyone can make claims. Was it Shakespeare that said, he can summon demons from the vasty deep, but will they come? Right. So anyone can say anything. Yeah, but is actually anything real about that? And I think in many cases not. So put a forfeit on it, stick it out there, put a forfeit on it, changes everything.
Okay. All right. So Sam's asking a very good question here. So what if your USP is not viable to achieve currently? How do you know when to start work on it or sadly forget about it?
I'm not sure really what that directly means. I mean, if you've got a USP that you're aspiring to be, if that's what it means, then there comes a point when you have to walk away if it's not going to work. I mean, normally you can see progress in what you're doing. So if you're talking about establishing a niche or a corner of the market which is yours, you can see that progress. It's getting in the right direction. And or if you're building your experience up, then it's relatively simple. But my view would be is to test out the USP that you want to aspire to with your clients as if it existed. So if I had this, score me out of 1 to 10 how unique that would be. If I had this, can you score me 1 to 10 how much of a benefit that would be? Because there's not much point building a USP that people don't actually value, really.
Yeah. And I suppose the other one in this is it has to be maintainable, because if it's something you're working on and you want to achieve, but it's something that you can only do every now and again, it's not good enough. It has to be consistent. If when you're doing it and you think, I actually can't do my day job, keep my clients happy, have some sort of personal life as well, because this USP is taking up all my time, or because I need to focus on it too much, then it's not viable. Because you have to be able to maintain it. So,
and that's why I think promise of service is easily the best USP to go for, because it's a form of a representation of your reputation. Really, is what that is. We're going to talk about personal brand on one of these sessions, and in the future, and brand is just reputation. It's the same thing. And I think that is promise of service encapsulates that reputation and puts some teeth into it with the forfeit of failure. Okay,
perfect. And then Sean's come back and said that what she thought was her USP was having experience.
Yeah. Well, but Sean is experienced, but she got more than that actually, and we dug it out, and it was fine. But it's one of the most common projects, sub projects that I do, really, especially with recruiters, because they struggle to encapsulate what makes them different, gives people a compelling reason to use you. But
Yeah, perfect. All right, Mike. So in a second, I'm going to come to you and do what I always do at the end of the show, which is to figure out what is your one thing. So someone is in that point where USPs are important to them. What's the one thing? Before then, just a quick roundup. Today we spoke about USPs being really, really important for differentiating yourself from your crowd. So the best way to figure out whether your USP is actually unique is to go and ask your clients out there, figure out whether it's unique. Ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, is it unique? Do you get a tangible benefit? Is the proof I'm offering you good enough? And does it actually work? Which is probably the biggest one out of all of them. And then if you, for any reason, don't have a USP, or the USPs you have got aren't marking that high, then just focus on that quality of service, because it's going to be the way that opens the most doors for you.
And also, no one can influence you with that. I mean, yeah, you might not be able to put a forfeit of service on if your company says you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just randomly say, well, I'll give you 25% discount then. Right. But if it's your own business, you can, obviously. But you can think of something else that you can put in there, which is going to hurt a little bit if you don't. You could offer to give you commission back, couldn't you, really? That'd be interesting.
Well, that would be putting some skin in the game, wouldn't it? That would indeed be. But yeah, no
one's going to do that. But yeah.
Quality service, again, is something that can be, at a company level, at a personal level, or at a product level. So perfect. So, Mike, first of all, anybody who's watching, please let us know the thing that you took the most from today, or the thing that's made you think, I would love to hear about it. But Mike, I'm coming to you. Thinking about USPs, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to those watching?
Test your USPs. Whatever you think they are, as Sean had said on the comments, test them. Go out to the clients and test them and find out. Because the most dangerous form of USP, as we've said before, is a USP that isn't a USP, because you're using it on that basis. And of course, it's not delivering the goods for you. So very, very definitely.
Perfect. And then just to round us off, Gavin's come on this. He said that USP, quite a lot of topics, but we've pushed it further today. Thank you very much, Gavin.
Thank you, Gavin. Appreciate that.
Very nice thing to say. So just as we go, so next week we're going to be looking at gatekeepers.
How to get around gatekeepers.
How to get around gatekeepers, and it's probably not what you think. And so we shall see you then.
See you. Cheers, guys.
Bye.